Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another night of iRacing action here on the National Racing Network. Tonight, we've got the iRacing Sprint Car Cup at the great Coliseum that is Bristol Motor Speedway. My name is Patrick Byrne, and tonight we'll be taking you through the stars and cars of this series. This is going to be an absolutely fantastic race. Unfortunately, I missed last night's Silver Crown event, but I have a feeling this one is going to be just as good. Let's get you a look at some of the drivers as they qualify. So far, Jeffrey Stanton's going to be your quick time with a 13:2:47. Derek Love falling just 1,000th of a second shy. Ted Quincell in the number 10 machine coming fourth quick. Jeffrey Stanton goes even quicker, 13:161. Derek Love not able to best his second lap, still going to be second quick on the board. So right on, look at the number 14 machine of CJ Almond, currently going for his second lap. First lap was a 15:209, about 9/10 of a second shy of Jeffrey Stanton's pole time. See the Monster Energy colors on the side of that number 14 machine. He's just going out there for laps now. This is his fourth timed lap, or fourth untimed lap. Just going out there getting some extra practice. Dylan Vilasinski finishing up his second lap. See what this one puts on the board of that number 4 machine. That one's going to put him fifth quick, but Josh Batista barely sneaks in an absolute zinger with a 13:102. That's going to put him at the top of the charts. So starting on the pole for tonight is going to be Josh Batista. To his outside is going to be Jeffrey Stanton in number 3 machine. Row number 2 has Derek Love on the inside, with Todd Taylor starting right beside him. Dylan Vilasinski and Ted Quincell make up row number 3. Row number 4 has Saban Bibent in the number 9 machine, starting in the 7th position. His outside is going to be the number 8 car of Keith Lucer. Row number 5 will have Richard Homan on the inside line, and Ronald Gibbons starting on the outside. Row number 6 has Mitch Drevnosky, and if the graphics want to work, Laura Gearhart starting in the 12th position. Colby Cups, CJ Allman making up row number 7, Aaron Parsons, and Ted Lee making up row number 8 for our 16-car field for tonight. 40 laps the distance of tonight's feature. As always in the Sprint Car Series, caution laps do not count, so we could have, for example, a 100-lap race. Just depending on how much these guys want to cooperate as they try and get around the circuit. Doesn't look like I see lights on the pace car, so should only be one pace lap around here. or maybe they forgot to switch them on in the first place, completing the second pace lap. They'll go green this time by. You can watch that number 20 machine of Josh Batista on the inside, the Red Ream Rocket. And Jeffrey Stanton sneaking in barely into the session, went and got dinner right before this race started, so not able to get any real practice in. Somehow puts it second quick, and he's probably going to do very, very well tonight, or go out with an absolute bang, as Bristol is one of the hardest tracks to drive in this car. It's one of the only tracks you get up to full throttle in these sprint cars. So pace car is going to make the hard left turn into the pit lane, into the restart zone. Flagman waves the green, and away they go. Josh Batista off to a very early lead, running away from Stanton and Derek Love. Derek Love able to sneak by Stanton, but they're going to be side by side. Very, very quickly, lap 1 getting complete with lap times faster than the NASCAR Cup Series. About 17.2, but you got to remember, they started that lap at 35 miles an hour. This next lap going to be even quicker for these drivers. Second lap for Josh Batista was a 13.553, absolutely flying around the circuit. And you can see just how spread out the field is already. Batista looks like he almost grabbed a little bit of wall there. Going once again, Jeffrey Stanton now with the new quickest lap. He's going on the attack on Josh Batista. Looked to the inside before. Not able to get anything done, though. You can see these drivers finding the high line to be the fastest way around, which leaves the door open for slide jobs to come out of nowhere from the inside. Mip Stravnosky also wants to catch these guys up front. Currently in the 5th position behind this pack of 4 cars here. But currently the fastest guy on the charts with a 13.206 lap time. Once again going even faster. As they approach the first group of lap traffic, Ted Lee pulling off the track very, very quickly. Batista still riding up right against that outside wall. Jeffrey Stanton still trying to keep the pressure on him. These things don't have rear view mirrors, but Batista knows he is right there. And caution is out for the very first time tonight. Looks like that might be for the 14 machine of CJ Allman. You see him there in the pit. See if we could see what happened to that car. Just pulling off to let some lap car or some leaders by. Unfortunately loses control of the car, hits the pit wall, spins her around. Very easy to do around here. Sign-On checking in, saying Batista and Stanton will run each other clean and fair, but hard. And that is absolutely right. These guys are going to do everything in their power not to make contact here tonight. But that's not to say contact won't happen. It's just the nature of short track racing, especially a track where you're getting these sprint cars up in excess of 140 miles an hour. They are absolutely flying around this place. Still seeing lights on the pace car, so we're going to have at least 2 more laps under caution here. And unfortunately for the sprint car guys, this might be the biggest track they do caution laps at. They're not used to sitting under caution for this long. Now, for some of the stock car guys here on the service, Bristol is one of my favorite tracks to have a caution period under because they go by so quickly. Instead of the 5 laps over at Talladega where it takes you 20 minutes under caution, here you're in and out in about 2 or 3 minutes. So still seeing lights on the pace car. Track crew taking an extraordinary amount of time to clean up all of the nothingness that is on the track from that single car spin is the reason we're under caution. CJ Allman in the number 14 machine, those Monster Energy colored car. Unfortunately bringing out the caution, as you saw in the replay before, got onto the brakes, got into that inside retaining wall, and unfortunately spun up, barely clipping the track at a stop, bringing the caution out. For some reason, Bristol is very, very sensitive to these cautions, because I know in the Sprint Car Series, we have seen cars go end over end, tumbling all over, no caution comes out, so very interesting. But the lights are out on the pace car. They will go green this time by. Last time down the back straightaway at caution speeds, already 10 laps in the books. So already a quarter of the way done with the race distance. That's how quickly this race goes by. Sign-on saying likely has to do with how many cars are nearby, and that's a very fair point. Bristol, you saw them all get very, very spread apart. As Batista is off to a very, very quick start trying to run away from Stanton as best as he can. You can see he's already put about half of one of these straightaways in the books over Jeffrey Stanton's. If I had to guess, probably a 1/12 of a mile, which doesn't sound like a whole ton, but for short track racing, that is an absolutely huge margin. But Jeffrey Stanton doing the best job he can to close that gap. He's closed the gap down now to about a quarter of a second. Gap now down to just over a 1/10 of a second. Stanton makes a dive to the inside. They're going to be side by side in the turn number 1 and 2. Batista all over the wall, has to grab the blinders, and that allows Jeffrey Stanton to easily get by while he sets the fastest lap of the race. Batista not going to give up just yet, though, still on the charge behind Jeffrey Stanton. Derek Love not able to catch this pair. He's been having to deal with Mitch Drevnosky from behind. Drevnosky was your fastest man on the racetrack earlier, and is still proving he can do it, as they're both going to get by Batista. Batista with another issue into the outside retaining wall. Stanton now doing the best job he can to run away from the pair behind him. Drevnosky going to the inside of Derek Love in the turn number 1. Going to be side by side down the back straightaway. Still there, dead even in the turn number 3. That's going to be Drevnosky on the inside, Love on the outside, drag race to the line. Give that one to Derek Love. Drevnosky finally gets clear of Derek Love for the first time in that 3-lap skirmish. But Love is not going to give up just yet. Batista still flirting with disaster across that safer barrier. See the field getting around CJ Allman just fine that time, but a whole bunch of lap traffic to contend with. Jeffrey Stanton has already made his way through it. We'll watch Drevnosky, Love, and Batista try and weave their way in between these cars. 1 lap car's low, 1 lap car's high. Love shoots the gap in the middle. Somehow all of them make it through there clean and green. You can even see the 4-car of Dylan Vilesensky getting through this field. Yeah, Sign-On checking in saying, despite all that, he is flying, and that is absolutely right. Josh Batista is still in this fight, in this battle. We saw that thing up on 2 wheels. As now we're at the halfway point of this race, and caution comes out once again. Here, a whole bunch of carnage going on the racing surface. Not sure where it is coming from, though. See if we can see any cars that have jumped to the pit lane. Here we go. Looks like that was the number 16 car of Colby Cups, just getting real out of shape on the bottom side of the racetrack, flying up right in front of the 9 car of Seban Bibent, and unfortunately parking them both in the pit lane, bringing out tonight's 2nd caution. Oh, that incident actually started a lap earlier. 14 gets in the 16. 16 goes way low, gets into the 5. 5 spins around and takes out the 16. Good air time out of the 16, though. Almost cleared the catch fence there. Thankfully, this is a virtual race. No damage to anyone, no harm to human life, but that would have been a real issue were this the real world, and that's kind of why they don't race these sprint cars on the concrete here at Bristol. They only do it when it's dirt. Jeffrey Stanton will be your leader when we cut back to green. Just got to wait for that pace car to flip the lights off once again. Incredibly long pacing periods for the sprint car races here at Bristol. Whole field is going all the way up to that outside safer barrier, though, so I'm going to assume there's only going to be 2 laps remaining. Sign on checking in. You can only see things bounce like that on BattleBots, thankfully. I have not watched BattleBots in a long time, but I think I know the rabbit hole I'm going to put on before I go to bed tonight. Thank you very much for that, BattleBots sign on. Lights still on the iRacing safety car, so not going green this time by. Bristol is absolutely on my bucket list of tracks to go to in the future. Probably not this season, but hopefully the next season of racing. Just something about this being a ginormous coliseum in the middle of Tennessee. Just something really, really cool about it. See a race, or even if they do one of the college football games in the infield again, I'd love to go see that too. Just recently moved down near Akron, Ohio. Drove past the Pro Football Hall of Fame today. First time I've seen it in about 4 or 5 years. I'd love to go catch a game there. Maybe I'll get lucky enough to go catch the Hall of Fame game this year. But lights are out on the safety car. This will be the final time under caution, hopefully for the rest of the night. Sign on checking in saying Kulwicki was always super fast here because he was really good at Slinger, and that makes sense. Slinger being the home track, I believe, for Kulwicki. Bristol being basically Slinger times 2. It's about twice the size and a little bit more banking. But pace car dives in, green flag goes out, and away they go once again. Stanton not able to get off to a huge jump like Batista was earlier. Batista actually falling back in the field to the 7th position. But Stanton having the battle with Drevnosky now. Drevnosky's going to try and close the gap up. Gap is just about 1/10 of a second. Oh, and now Drevnosky getting up into that outside wall. It is the fastest way around this track, but you do have that danger of smacking the wall of the last great Coliseum, and it slows you down considerably. You saw that gap about double between Stanton and Drevnosky. Derek Love bobbling against the outside wall down the back straightaway. Stanton is still the fastest guy on the track, though, in terms of best lap. But his last lap was about 1/10 of a second slower than Drevnosky's. Even slower still that time. So Drevnosky's going a little bit faster than Stanton. I think he's got a fight for him. Going to go for the slider here in the turn number 3. I think he's completely clear, and yes, he is. Stanton's going to go for the crossover, though, on the inside in the turn number 1. Keep your foot in it, bud. Not going to clear him. Going to be side by side down the back straightaway. Still there, dead even coming out of it. Cross the line, give that lap to Mitch Drevnosky. Sign on checking in, describing my dating life, saying if you flirt with disaster long enough, eventually disaster might swipe right, and I don't think I've ever heard any more true spoken words. But Stanton going for the dive on the inside once again, riding that concrete all the way around the bottom. Not quite able to clear Drevnovsky before they got to the start-finish line. Working our way through the final 10 laps of this race. Still going to be side by side in a dead heat. And amazingly, Derek Love not quite able to catch these guys. Right as I say that, though, he picks up about a tenth on these folks. Going to be about 3/10 between Drevnovsky and Derek Love, and only a tenth separating each car in between. Stanton once again going for another dive on the low side, not quite able to get the slider done there. But if he gets the power off the corner, I think he might be able to just barely edge Drevnovsky out. But we'll have to wait for the checkered flag to see which one of them comes across the line first. Still a lot of racing left to go. Only going to be 5 laps this time. Stanton is running out of time. It's not over yet, but he does have to find a way around Drevnovsky's machine. Gap staying steady at right about a tenth of a second. Lap traffic approaching ahead, though, so this could shake things up. Only going to be 3 laps remaining. Oh, a little bit of a bobble there for Drevnovsky. That allows Stanton to close the gap up. Stanton chooses to go high, though, through turns number 3 and 4. Going to stay right on the tail tank of Drevnovsky. 2 laps to go this time. Drevnovsky's in the wall. Stanton's going to go for another dive down the inside. Is it enough to clear him? Not quite, and they have the 15 machine of Ted Lee to contend with up ahead. Drevnovsky going to swipe down to the bottom, not quite able to make it happen. Going to be the last lap, very close near miss with that lap car. Final time through turn number 4, drag race to the line, it's Drevnovsky. What a fantastic show, holy cow. Mitch Drevnovsky parking it right on the start-finish line, showing that he can get it done and absolutely worked his butt off for it. Jeffrey Stanton giving it everything he's got, though, only finishing 31 thousandths of a second behind. Both of them over half a second ahead of third-place finisher Derek Love. So fantastic showing out of the top 3, and more especially the top 2 of this race. I think that was the best sprint car race I've ever seen on the iRacing platform. So we wait for our drivers to populate the booth. Show off Mitch Drevnovsky out of New England is going to be your race winner. Jeffrey Stanton, about a tenth of a second back. Live timing and scoring was only showing 35 thou. It was 135 thou, but still a very, very close finish. Jeffrey Stanton coming home in second. Derek Love going to come home in the 3rd spot, rounding off your podium. Vilasinski and Todd Taylor make up your top 5. Josh Batista, unfortunately, finishing in the 6th position, falling back after some contact with that outside safety barrier. Ted Quincell, Keith Lucer, Ronald Gibbons, and Laura Gerhardt making up your top 10. Finishing 11th will be the number 13 machine of Aaron Parsons. 12th is Ted Lee. 13 is Saban Bibent. 14th, CJ Almond. 15th, Cody Cups. And 16th will be the number 12 machine of Richard Homan. We do have plenty of time, a very, very quick race here tonight, so we can get interviews in for all 3 of your podium finishers. First one up will be 3rd place finisher, possibly the man with the best view of that race at the end, Derek Love. And Derek, what were you seeing out of, the lack of a windshield these cars have?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a good battle, but best view if you look at it that way. Worst view if you look at it in my seat, man. I really wanted to be up there in front of them and look at them in the mirror, but we did a little bit of a setup change, and that's on me. We just lost a little bit of speed. It was firing off well, but long run speed wasn't quite there. I feel like I had a different gear change than them that would have worked well, but another change kind of held us back a little bit. Man, those things are fun there. It is fast, and you just hold on, though. How'd the show look from you?
It was fantastic up here. I mean, I think the show went off without a hitch. Wasn't seeing any frame issues, so I think we might have sorted out the internet troubles here at the Ohio HQ of NRN. But now, back to the race. Were you expecting a more caution-filled race, or were you did the long runs kind of catch you by surprise?
No, I always hope for that long run. I'm always got a car set up for that generally. So we ran a little bit ago. At the 7 p.m. only had one caution, like on lap 1, and then we went green the rest of the way. And that's kind of how this series goes. It's such a tough car, and there's a lot of accidents in practice, but people really pull together in the race and do really well. So it's a good group.
Yeah, do you think that comes down to in practice just everyone trying to go out there, set the absolute fastest lap, just chasing the top spot on the board, and then in the race kind of dialing it back to 85, 90%?
I mean, in the first half that I know I am. But don't know if I know how to dial it back too much in the race, and sometimes we end up in the wall like last night. So happy to finish this one, man. Would really like to be a little bit higher up on that podium, but we'll take the P3, and we'll be up here again soon.
Hell yeah. Hopefully we're talking to you on the top spot of one of the 2 races next week. Any sponsor plug thank yous you want to get out?
Yeah, shout out to the babes back in the shop building this machine, the Street Sides Classics machine, and you guys up here in the booth, or just you up here in the booth. So we'll see you again soon.
Hell yeah. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Alrighty, next up we might bring in the most disappointed driver in the field, or possibly the happiest. He is a racer himself, Mr. Jeffrey Stanton, unfortunately finishing second tonight, but you had to work your butt off for it, and I give you an A for effort, man. Gave it everything you got out there, and you were the fastest car on the track for a large portion of it.
Yeah, I tried holding Mitch off. It was really tough. Like, once he got by me, I tried doing a crossover. It's just off of 4 in particular, like, it would just unload, like, a certain way. It'd just start fishtailing on the straightaways. It was so sketchy.
Yeah, it looked
so much fun.
Very, very difficult to get the power down at any point tonight, which made for an absolutely fantastic race. You guys had to drive the absolute wheels off of these things tonight.
Exactly, and that's why I love this place. That's why I love the high bank tracks like this. I really hope at some point we can say the same thing with these cars at Winchester or Salem or something like that. It's so much fun on these high bank tracks.
Now, were you kind of taken back by that caution that came at the halfway point? You had just taken the lead just prior to it. Did that kind of set you back, or do you think that Mitch Drevnosky would have gotten you by the end regardless?
I think Mitch would have caught me. It definitely didn't help, that yellow, but I think he would have caught me regardless. I was chipping out really early. I was on the 43 year tonight, so I was chipping out pretty early. And if he can get the top rolling, it's hard to beat that momentum.
Yeah, gearing very important in these sprint cars. Derek Love, who we just spoke to, saying the same thing. He thinks he just got the gearing wrong. He made a quick change in between the last race at 7 o'clock and the 9 o'clock race, and unfortunately he thinks that's what took him out of contention to this one.
And honestly, like, that's why I stuck with the 43 tonight, because last night in the Crown race, I went with that longer gear, and it threw me out, all over the place. So I felt like a wreck. Still feel bad about that, but it is what it is.
Yep, only a single speed in these sprint cars and the Silver Crown, so your rear gear is your gearing. You don't have an upshift or a downshift to kind of lean on in either direction. But why don't we get some sponsor plugs, thank yous in for you, man?
Yeah, I want to thank Napa, Rockwell, everyone else that supports me, y'all for broadcasting, of course.
Hell yeah, well, hopefully we're talking to you on the top spot in one of the 2 races next week, and you have yourself a fantastic night.
You too, thank you.
And last but certainly not least, it's going to be race winner Mitch Drevnosky. Drove the absolute wheels off of that thing tonight. Definitely had to fight for it. Kind of pulled the slider on Stanton to get by him. Could you have done it without the caution?
No, I mean, it's hard to say. It's pretty short race here this week, just 40 laps, and it goes by in a hurry. And it's tough to pass here usually, and I had nicked the wall there in qualifying, so that set us back a little bit. And then once I was able to get up to 5th or 6th, I kind of thought, I mean, it's going to be tough to get by him. And then we got that first yellow, and that helped bring me back to him. And then I think we got one more. And yeah, I didn't totally intend to throw the slider at Stanton, but I kind of just got in deep enough, and then he crossed me up, and then we had a hell of a battle from there. But that was a lot of fun. I was digging hard as I could, and I think Stanton was too. So
yeah,
it was a good shot.
I think you guys were side by side for at least 15 of the last 20 laps. That was an absolute barn burner to watch. Dogfight, whatever you want to call it. It was incredible.
Yeah, usually when we come here, like I said, it's pretty tough to pass. So I didn't expect the bottom to really work. It didn't work for me. It was kind of for me just run in the middle, and the top was all right, but the bottom wasn't really going to be an option for me. And then once I got by him, I was like, well, I feel like everyone's going to be in that same boat that I was in. And then all of a sudden he started working the bottom, and I was like, all right, we got a race on our hands. So it just worked out in our favor, and we were able to take it home.
Were you getting afraid towards the end of it with all of the lap traffic that you guys were starting to run up on?
Yeah, even at one point after I got by Derek, Stanton was well out there, and I think we got a yellow to bring me back to him. But there was 4 or 5 lappers that I was like, I don't know how this is going to go. But they were respectful and got out of the way, and then right there on the last lap or 2 to go, whatever it was, there was another one, and they gave us as much room as they could. It's pretty tight here, and we just brought it down to the line hard as we could, pedaling it off 4, and it was pretty close.
Hell yeah. Well, why don't we get a shout out to all your sponsors, man?
Yeah, just everybody at Ski Race Shop, EPI, everyone for showing up tonight. Got a decent field. Hopefully we can get some more next week, and as always, you guys doing the broadcast, you do a great job.
Hell yeah. Well, thanks for the kind words, and hopefully we're talking again on the Top Step next week.
Thanks.
All right, well, that is going to be all here for the Sprint Car Series at Bristol Motor Speedway, but do not go anywhere just yet. You're going to close this stream, keep it on our channel. About 15 minutes, 20 minutes from now, we're going to go live with the TNT Shock Series from Five Flags. So don't go anywhere. Go grab a pop. Go hit the restroom. Sit right back down on your couch and make sure you catch us there for the 50-minute feature race at Five Flags. It is going to be an absolute heater once again. Thanks for tuning in, and hopefully we'll see you here in just a couple minutes.